crafty people out there. We have a new project today. I have had something for a little while waiting to get the pattern. I've had some fabric that I got at, I believe, American Thrift. It is actually a sheet, a flat sheet that I purchased there for, I believe it was $1.99. And what I've been wanting to make, and I know you've probably seen them on Pinterest all over the place lately, they've been very popular, is some of those wraparound pants. The ones that wrap up and around your waist once and then wrap the other way. Something similar to this. This is a Simplicity 95.95, and once I got it, I realized it's just one piece. It's one big piece of fabric that just has a crotch line, essentially. So this is the crotch line, and all I did was trace this. This is the only sizing in this whole pattern, and it's kind of different because these lines are not cut lines like they usually are. They're not your the line you're cutting on. These are the seam lines, which is a little different because usually that means you've got to trace something. Well, I'm not all that fancy. So I traced the pattern, or that piece of the pattern, so I could relay it to my piece of fabric without having to do too much guesswork. I'm sure this is something that I could have just gotten offline, but Simplicity had a 4th of July sale, so I got a couple of patterns. Anyway, what we're going to do, I'm going to show y'all the fabric. It's vintage. It's very mod, and I just fell in love with it when I saw it. Now this is a twin flat sheet, and I thought if I'm going to make some fun kind of mod pants, I might as well have the fabric to go with it. Now I also have another sheet, another twin sheet that's flat like this, that same maker, and it's also vintage. It's got more of like a yellow and green flower print on it. If you watched my last romper video, or the romper video, you'll see the fabric there. So anyway, we're going to use this. This is almost standard. I think the standard for a flat sheet is a 70 by 100 inches. This one happens to be 64 by 100 inches. It's not going to matter. The fabric, or the piece that we're going to cut out, we're going to cut out two pieces, and they're going to be approximately 52 across. I don't know if you can see that. 52 across and 43 down. So I know I can get plenty of fabric out of this. The tie they made out of just ribbon, but I might make a tie out of actual fabric. I just think it holds up better. These are a little different in the fact that they don't tie in the back. They use a hook and eye, which is great. I like that. And they put elastic in it, so that'll be more comfortable. I have taken this crotch line and actually measured against some other pants of mine that fit well, so I know which one I'm going to use. And the only thing I really need to do is cut the fabric, and then I may, because it's 43 inches on the outside of the leg, I'm going to measure the length of my leg, which is significantly shorter, and adjust that, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to adjust it from the top of the pattern, and I'd like to be lazy and use the hem in the sheet that's already here, the top of the sheet that's got that nice wide hem. Now this would be the part that wraps to the front, I will use the salvage end for the part that wraps the back. But again, still no reason to have to hem it because it's already finished. So if I can use the finished ends and measure the pattern from the bottom up and cut or size it from the top and then cut the crotch line out, I think that will allow me to use those hems that are already there and prevent more work. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be very hard to see. There's so much fabric in this process. But what I'm going to do is get the squares cut or rectangles cut, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to line up the crotch line. And once we do that, really it's a quick sew, I hope. And we'll have a cute pair of mod looking wrap pants. So stick with me. I'm going to be right back when I'm ready to cut the crotch seam. Okay, everyone, I just wanted to show y'all real quick before I get to the crotch line. This is a little more complicated than you'd think, only because of the amount of fabric. And I know all y'all are seeing is polka dots. So what I've done is I've taken some of my good old quilting clips and I've clipped the edges of the sheet all the way on the open sides, which would be where the hem is and the sides of the sheet are. And I'm just trying to keep it lined up. So when I do cut it, I'll get a fairly straight cut out of it. Because laying the pattern on top of this right now, it really would not be very helpful, especially since I'm going to have to shorten it, being my tall self. So I figured up I'm probably going to need about 39.5 inches in length. So what I thought I would do is and that measuring myself as opposed to worrying about the pattern, I don't have to take into account the hem, and the only thing I need to take into account is the casing at the top where I'll put the elastic and probably ribbon, because I can't find any fabric to coordinate with this unless I use some of the leftover fabric. So I'm looking at probably being way up here. Let's see, I'll measure it from down here so y'all can see it. But way up here on this end, about 39.5. So what I'm trying to do is find the best way to make that straight cut. Now, any other time I'd take a quilting ruler, run my blade across it and be done. I just don't know if I can get through all the layers comfortably and still be able to measure where I need to go. And of course it has to be on the self-healing mat, my cutting mat, or it's not going to go through. It's just going to go through my table. So kind of wiggling the end down here to this area, and I've folded over the side just to give myself a little shorter length. And I thought what I would do is just do some bare minimum markings across to give me that straight line. So let me get my marking pen real quick. And this is a water soluble marking pen, water erasable. So always test this on your fabric to make sure it's going to come out. I don't have any doubt it's going to come out on this cotton. Actually, I think it's a cotton poly blend, but the other good part about it is if I'm marking the top, that's going to be folded over to make my casing. So even if the mark doesn't come out perfectly, it will it'll be okay because it'll be covered up. So I'm going to stretch this across here, trying to be as straight as possible. Of course you can see I'm not. And move my elastic out of the way. And I'm thinking about 39.5 here. And then I figure I'll measure once here. And I'm about 39.5 here. And then I'll measure again. I'm just trying to get a good gauge I'm trying to be as straight as possible. But if I do a lot of lines, then I won't be too surprised by anything that's not. And then I'm going to do it on top of this fold. And because I think I'm going to try to cut through the fold just so I'll have it all on my mat. It's a little more complicated, just like I said, because the amount of fabric is a lot. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit, make sure everything is on my mat. Get the biggest ruler I've got, which I think is this little puppy, and gauge to see if I got them. See, these two are lined up, this one's not. Let me see if I can measure it one more time. You can always measure twice, cut once, just like any other profession there. Let's see, I think it's 39.5. Should be right there. But for some reason when I'm lining this up, that one's just a little short, which I think is okay, because that just means that's the one I measured wrong. I hope. Yeah, I just measured that one wrong. It's 39 inches. So this is a good basic 39.5 inches all the way across, and I can also measure this way and make sure that I'm about 10 1/4, not even close, 10 1/4, 10 1/4. So I'm wondering, let me measure this last one more time. Because I just need to torture myself like this. Yep, I'm a little shy. See if we can get that to line up a little better. So that's about a little bit shy of 10 1/4, 10 1/4, 10 1/4, 10 1/4. Okay, so I think we're good. And we're going to go ahead and be brave. Now what I've got here is 39.5 inches, which is 1.5 inches over the side seam measurement of what I need for a pair of pants on myself. And when I cut these, then the only other thing we'll have to worry about is the width. And just to check, the width on these from edge of the sheet to from each side to side is approximately 32 inches, so 64. So this is the 64 inch, and we should be fine cutting this to be the longer piece, which is the top. Alright. I just wanted to show you how complicated this is, and I wish it wasn't, but it's just the sheer amount of fabric that makes it a little bit complicated. I'll come back when we're ready for the next one. Okay, what I've done is I've cut the length of my pants to the length I need, and I took the pattern that I traced and I cut out the center of what I don't need. In other words, I cut it on the small seam line because I'm actually going to use the medium and I figured with the serger, the way I was going to do it would probably be about the seam width. So I cut the middle out, and now all I have is, this will be my cut line, which is the small seam line, but I'm going to be sewing on the medium seam line, and I've just folded it in half so I could put it directly over the fold I already have in the fabric. And when I fold it in half, I'm just going to cut it here in the middle. And once I cut it, then the only other thing I've got to worry about is my width, and I will cut that last. So I'm going to cut this, and this again will be the crotch line, and it includes about 1.5 inches up top for my casing. So this is the crotch, for lack of a better word. And I'm going to drop that over there, drop this over here. And the last thing I'm going to do again is to cut this width. Now, if I had a smaller sheet, which they don't make smaller sheets, but if I had a smaller fabric, then maybe I would have been able to salvage this hem as well. But I can't. I could have done it for one side, but not the other, so what's the point? But I've already measured between the edge of this this line and the edge of the pants fabric. It's going to be 22.5 inches. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to measure. This is again going to be a long cut, so I'm going to measure across from the end of that seam line 22.5 inches. Alright, because I think that's what I included was the whole piece. So, where's my marker? I can't ever find anything. I'm going to measure and mark my 22.5 inches here. I'm just going to, I think since I'm going to do that, actually what I'm going to do is measure what it is from the edge. It's 23.25. I'm going to measure it from this edge. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's a curve in this line, and I don't want it to translate over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that first measurement, and it's 5 inches. Super duper. I like a 5-inch line. It's actually the width of my favorite ruler. So I can go down this here and just pull 5 inches and pull 5 inches, and then I'll be able to cut all the way down in a 5-inch line off the edge and have the correct width for my pants. And of course I'm going to have to, again, this blue mark, even if it wasn't coming out, I'm going to be hemming that side, so no worries. So I will get back with y'all when I have been brave enough to make this final cut to make our pants, and we'll start hemming the sides, putting casings in, and see how it comes out. Alright, I want to show you what this looks like. Essentially what I've got is 2 huge pieces of fabric, which again, this makes it perfect for the sheet. And this is one side, and then you have the crotch line, and then this side. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn them right sides together, and we're going to sew this first. And actually, you know what I may do I may serge all the sides. Like I may serge the top and the sides that aren't hemmed, so they'll be easy to hem and put a casing in, and then I'll serge the middle, and we'll be able to do the casing much easier then. So I think that's what I'm going to do first. We'll go to the serger and let's get started. Alright, I looked back at the instructions just to make sure we were online, or in line, and it actually wants me to hem the side of the pants first, but it's not going to matter if I run a serge line down the side and up across the top and then do the crotch line and come back to the machine and do that, the sewing machine, and do that hem. That isn't going to break up any kind of real order, so it shouldn't be a problem. And then that will also give me the chance to just move from serger to machine, because I'll do the hem on the side of the pants and the casing at the same time over on the machine. And then we'll run elastic, you know, push and pull, push and pull. Alright, so I'm taking these two huge pieces of fabric. Those are on my thrift tags to prove I'm not paying a fortune for all this. And I'm going to separate them. Like I said, it is a lot of fabric. And make sure that I am looking at what side I want to serge. And again, this is just a serge to make it easy to hem. Now this is our salvage, so this is that back of the pants, and that again is already finished, so I don't have to worry about that. So I know this is one of the sides I need to serge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just check and make sure. Here's my salvage end down here, so I know I'm on the right side of what I need to do. And where's my pedal? There it is. Okay. I'm not going to take anything off while I'm doing this serge. I'm just essentially securing the edges so I can make an easy hem of it. Now this is a lot of fabric. This is a lot of seams. So I'm going to stop the video right now, and then we'll catch up when I'm over on the sewing machine ready to make the casings and everything. Okay, before we go over to the sewing machine, one more thing. I've serged all of the sides where the hems will be, the top and the bottom. The sides. The bottom's already hemmed. And now I'm going to do the crotch line. I just wanted to run through this with y'all. Remember, we're putting right sides to right sides, and we're just going to go down this seam. It should be a fairly easy seam to work with, and make sure we pull all of our little ties out from our other serge process. Get it going. Make sure we keep our seams lined up. Our raw edges, excuse me. Alright, we're getting to the curve, so we'll make sure we want to keep our fingers on this. Make sure you don't get any extra fabric underneath your serger. Don't worry about my fingers, I got it. I am too scared of that blade to put my fingers under there. it seamed. I may go back and just do a stitch on the machine in this line, because that's got to be the strongest seam on your pants. That's where you're going to be sitting and standing and moving the most. So I will do another seam on the inside of that serge just for security. Now we're going to go to the machine, the sewing machine, and sew our casing and our hem on the side of the pants. Okay, again, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to go over this crotch line just one more time. Put an extra seam in it. Like I said, that's your most active seam. So we're going to run a little stitch, and I'm going to run it right beside the serge line. It's not going to be anything extraordinary, just to help secure it. Do a little back stitch. I'm just right outside the serge line. Lot of fabric. This is one of the reasons I'm not too keen on making curtains, anything like that, because I don't know, just don't care for dealing with this much fabric on a regular basis. But I've been wanting to make some of these pants for a while, and this sheet just stood out on the rack, and I couldn't help it. I was like, yes, that's it. Right, now we got that extra seam line, or seam line in the crotch area. So just a little more security. Now, what we're going to do with the sides here is we're going to hem them in, and I might do maybe, I think it recommends like an inch. So I'm probably going to go and iron this so I don't have to worry about tacking it with the hemming ruler every so often to make sure it's on line. And I'll also do that for the casing, and we'll come right back and finish these up. Shouldn't be too much more. Okay, I have put the little hem on the sides of the pants, and the pattern just called for a 1/4 inch roll. So what that usually means is you roll it under a 1/4 inch and you roll it under another 1/4 inch. I figured we'll just go right over that serge line, and now we have a perfect little hem, and it's nice and secure. The only thing I have left at this point is to make our casings, and I went ahead, oh my god, this is a lot of fabric. I went ahead and ironed. What I ironed was 1 1/4 inch, and I think that I've got some 3/4 inch elastic, and I've also got 1 inch elastic, so I think I'm going to go with the 3/4 inch, and I'm going to go ahead and just sew right next to that serge line and do our little casing for both the elastic and the ribbon from the other side. And yes, I did decide to go with ribbon again because I couldn't find any fabric I wanted to coordinate it with. So sometimes I'm just making it up as I go, but this is following the pattern mostly. So now I'm just going to sew on these casings, or sew these casings close to make put the elastic in and the ribbon. Sorry. Give us a little back stitch here, and again I'm just right on top of that serge line, because that'll give me plenty enough room for my 3/4 inch elastic, and it won't make the case loose, so there's over a chance my elastic will roll. That is frustrating. Some people will put a stitch down the center of their elastic once they've encased it, and that'll also keep it from rolling. Mine is marketed as a non-rolling elastic. I haven't had too many problems with it. I use the 1 inch for my grandchildren's all the time. So anyway, I'm just going to keep on humming along. This is one side of the casing, and once I get the other side done, then we'll go ahead and run our elastic and our ribbon. I'll be right back for that. Okay, and it's time for us to run our elastic. Now in this particular pattern and the way that this is intended to be worn, the elastic goes across what is the front panel. In other words, this is the panel that you'll wrap around your waist from the front to the back and snap in the back with a hook and eye. So this is the front. Now I noticed when I was sewing that, lo and behold, there's a little stain on this sheet. Out of the whole thing, this is the only one I found. The good news is it is pretty far away from this seam. So what's going to happen is, because this is going to be in the front, it's actually going to be covered up by the back panel that folds to the front and you tie. So that's not even going to be seen. Happy that it's not, but that's the only stain I have found on the sheet. A lot of times, you want to obviously look through your stuff when you buy them and make sure you don't have any stains, but it's pretty hard to look at an entire sheet. So I'm fighting my elastic over here. This is a 3/4 inch non-roll elastic, and I'm going to use it to go through the waistband that's, again, considered the front, even though you're snapping it in the back. It's kind of a puzzle. Anyway, put my good old safety pin on there, and I'm gonna push and pull this through. Make sure I've got the stained side so I know I'm on the right side. And like I said, this is the great thing about this is it's that little flaw is it's not going to show. So it couldn't be in a better spot. It's not on the leg or anything like that. It's up close to the waistline, and that will keep it from being visible when I wear them. So I got a little tight apparently down here on the end. I'm just pushing and pulling. Push as much as fabric as I can on that safety pin and pull it from the other side. Now once I get this run, I will then run the ribbon, and I'll go out and measure and make sure that the elastic is the right width for my waistline, the right amount, and then I'll add the hook and eyes. And it shouldn't take us much longer. Once you get to this part, you feel kind of home free, because if you're running the elastic, you're on the home stretch usually. And this is a lot of fabric. So I'm just going to keep scrunching and pulling. Push, push, and push, and pull. Push and pull. And I don't have to hold on to the end today because I'm just going off of the whole spool, and it's not going to come through because it's too long. Push and pull. Push and pull. Give it a little stretch there. We're almost to the end, and there's my pin. Now we've got the elastic run all the way through, and I think it's going to be just the right width. I don't think it's going to have an opportunity to turn, so that's good. Now I'm going to run the ribbon through the part that wraps around from the back. Now I do have a couple of ribbon choices, but I think this pink is going to be the closest I have to this pink. It's a little brighter, but I think it'll mesh well. I wish I had some green, but the green I have is real limey. It's not light like this, so I think it would kind of be a little too stark. But give me your opinion. I can always rerun the ribbon. Let me know what you think. Oh, it would help if I showed you the green, wouldn't it? This is the green. See how bright it is? And this green is just not that bright, and I'm afraid it'll be, whoa! So I'm just working with the pink. It would be smart just to cut this with scissors. So take this off and take that off. I'm going to run it just like I did my elastic. I'm going to leave my safety pin. I'm going to take my safety pin off right now and run my ribbon. I'll go try them on. Once I finish trying them on, we'll see the finished product. Hopefully I'll be able to fit them all on my table. Okay, I usually don't model things, but these turned out pretty cute. I'm going to tie them a little tighter up top. And these ribbons I'll probably cut down a bit. I just cut them long for right now. So anyway, you'll have to ignore my chicken shirt. I'm wearing my chicken shirt. But I think it turned out pretty cute. They're a little wide, but I'm a little wide. So they wrap around and they come up here, which I could have cut the smaller crotch line actually. I just don't have much of a waistline, I guess. And then you wrap them up from behind and pull them up with the ribbon in front. But I know they look funky, but I think on the right person they would look adorable. I tell you what though, they're super comfy. And out of a different fabric, you know, there's all kinds of things you can do with this particular pattern. I think I might do something different with the ribbon. It just doesn't want to hold. It's square grain, but anyway, just wanted to show y'all. Again, I would have used the shorter crotch line, but I'm not completely disappointed. They were fun. The mod look with these colors is really cute. So anyway, that's the Simplicity 95.95, and next time I'll make them out of something else, or we'll do some more lace pants, whatever y'all like. Just send me some suggestions if you have any, and please make sure you like and subscribe, and I appreciate all of your support. Thanks a lot.